Hello and welcome to my podcast. This is the first of a series of 7 episodes that I'm going to talk about the powers or the demons of Mary Magdalene. Each week we'll cover a different power. So this week the focus is going to be the power of darkness. Before I jump in, I want to talk about what led me to this practice working with Mary Magdalene. And it starts with my work with the goddess. Inanna is a very interesting goddess. I don't often hear people talk about her. I wanted to talk about her a little bit and how that led me to my work with Mary Magdalene before I start. Inanna is a goddess that predates most other deities and goddesses that we hear people talk about. She was probably around 4000 BCE. Inanna is a Sumerian goddess of love and war. In early Roman culture, she was known as Venus. In Greece, they called her Aphrodite. In Mesopotamia, she was Ishtar, Isis. She connects to so many different pantheons that this is what makes, for me, the work with Inanna so expansive and it connects so well. Because when working with Inanna, you aren't just working with Inanna, you are working with all of these other goddesses that have gone through the years and the centuries, have come down through her. So let's jump in now to the Mary Magdalene first hour, thinking about the story of Inanna and this transformation that she went through, discarding an item every time she went through the gateway and coming back to the very beginning until she was left with nothing but only the shadow inside, only inside, in order to create this transformation. And part of that is this self-actualization, coming in alignment with who we actually are. And the ego is part of this first power. When you're trying to put out into the world who you actually are, who your soul actually is, the ego is the voice that comes and says, you can't do that. People aren't going to like that. That's not what everybody else is doing. And it's the stopping point from the soul actually coming and discovering itself. The ego doesn't recognize the soul. It doesn't know who it is because the ego creates this front. The soul as an external aspect of our being, an aspect that allows us to feel loved and to experience that we are love and that our humanity is not intrinsically sinful or shameful. The human body is the soul's chance to be here. And it's with that love that everything else needs to stem from. And it's the ego that stops that love from coming out. Understanding that along the way, we may have lost ourselves and that we need to see with fresh eyes with who we actually are and not with the ego, but with the eye of the heart. In Mary Magdalene's gospel, sin is forgetting the truth and reality of the soul. Sin is the ego acting in the state of forgetting who we really are. Within this darkness, there's also stillness. And in this stillness is where we have to truly find where the soul lives, who the soul is. Talking, words, noise. The ego uses these as tools, but in the silence is where the soul can be found. And it's interesting because as I've been thinking about this concept of leading with the heart, leading with love, it seems almost counterintuitive to what we see as this kind of Inanna, this kind of warrior, powerful energy. And within that love, I don't think it means love and light and everything's great and, and we have it to be nice to everyone. Because being true to yourself doesn't involve being complete pushover, but it means reacting to things from the heart space, expressing emotions appropriately, understanding if you're getting angry, where that's coming from, if the person it's directed to, if they are actually the cause, and finding out what the root is. It's about going deep and really getting to the heart of things. It's about going back to the beginning and remembering who we actually are and living from a place of authenticity. So I'm going to leave it there for this week 1 podcast. And as we go into darkness, and next week, we're going to go to the second power, which is craving. Thanks for listening.